Welcome you back to the Patrick Netherton Show, 1130 The Tiger. He's Rogers, I'm Patrick, and we're pleased to welcome in one of our favorites, a man we got to meet at New Orleans, at the Final Four with the old Brando show back in the day. The man, if he wasn't such a damn good analyst for college basketball and a fine basketball coach, he could go on the road doing some stand-up. He is a hilarious human being and a great coach and a fantastic analyst. He is Tim Miles from Fox Sports and the Big Ten Network. Tim, how are you?
Patrick, how are you? Rogers, I'm glad to be on. I was just thinking, you guys, remember that Brando show? And did they not used to like simulcast whatever you call it, on TV, right?
Yeah, it was CBS Sports Network, and we were on, I believe at that point, Yahoo Sports Radio.
So isn't that essentially like a Zoom? Like, didn't you guys really invent Zoom and not capitalize on it?
Yeah, well, I mean, the not capitalizing part is what we're best at around here. We're good at that.
Well, when you talked about me being a comedian, I think I got to give them a hard time about not realizing they had gold right at their fingertips, and not some little digital editor guy that knew how to make it work said, I think I'm going to start this Zoom thing, and everybody's going to do it in a pandemic in about 15 years.
Right.
And old Patrick and Tim Brando are going to be aced out. No cash.
Well, I mean, no cash is basically my middle name at this point. It's funny you say that because we actually, the CBS production staff that put together that whole thing, and we had our studio in Shreveport, Louisiana. We were sending audio to Houston, Texas, and we were sending video to New York. And the people that actually put all that together did win an award for it. They won some sort of technological advancement award, creativity award.
How about that?
Yeah. Now, obviously, we didn't see any of that. It wasn't like it was any money in our pockets, but
there was no gold trophy in your case.
Speaking of, the last time I saw you, you were still at Nebraska, and I came in there and you showed me, was it a golden sombrero or some golden boots or something that you just won a tournament?
I got a lot of stuff. I got so I won an Emmy when I was at Colorado State. We had a reality TV show on the Mount West Sports Network. It's only a regional, the Heartland region, but I got an Emmy. And I also had a sombrero from the Sun Bowl that the boys gave me. When you win a championship down there, you get I had a red sombrero, and I also had one from Colorado State, which was a green sombrero that I was good enough to leave back at Colorado State as a memento that they could always cherish and display in a trophy case, which I'm sure they have now stored away somewhere that doesn't exist.
Right. I hate to be somber to start here, Tim, but I do have to tell you this actually is an intervention. It's not just a regular interview. This is an intervention, and I want to tell you why.
Okay.
Because you were head coach at Nebraska, Colorado State, had a lot of success. And look, coaches, they're hired to be fired. We kind of all know that, right? So things happen.
We're all replacements.
Right. But Nebraska, Nebraska paid you pretty well. Things were going good. You end up on Fox Sports. You got the Big Ten Network gig. But I feel like maybe we've lost you, Tim, because you're working with Rob Doster and Jeff Goodman. Like, how far have you fallen in life that you're working with Doster and Goodman on a regular basis? Like, I feel like maybe we need to come in and we need to start a GoFundMe or something. How do we get you out of this?
So the day that I did the Manscaped read for my podcast for Jeff Goodman and Rob Doster, and we talked about how personal grooming below your belt is so important. My wife says, that's a new low, Tim. That's a new low.
Literally.
We got to get you going. I need a job, man. I need a job. I got to go coach again, I think. I think it's time to get myself squared away. I think I have hit rock bottom. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, it's tough out there. And look, I understand. Look, hey, if Manscaped was willing to come in and pay me some money to do their reads, you better talk. You better believe I'm telling you about what's going on down below the belt. I'm not afraid to.
Well, I got to tell you, the one they sent me, I was excited about. They sent me a nose hair trimmer.
Yes.
And so I charged it, clicked it on, the light went on, nothing.
Oh.
Nothing. I couldn't get it to work.
Oh.
I got a lemon. That was a new low too.
Yeah.
That was the second.
When you can't even get your nose hair trimmed, that's a bad lot in life.
Remember Shawshank? When Andy Dufresne is in the river You know?
Yeah, the river of excrement.
I'm kind of stuck in the middle right now.
Yeah.
I'm you know. So we got to get going.
Well,
I agree with you 1,000%. Who's going to win this NCAA tournament?
Well, I do have a question before we get to that, and we'll do some tournament breakdown. But I've got to imagine this, because you do want to get back into coaching. There, I don't think you haven't been shy about that, and you're certainly young. You've got plenty of coaching life left. But what is it like trying to get a job during a pandemic? Because number one, I'm surprised teams are firing coaches after this season. I don't understand it. If you've survived this season somehow, I don't care if you didn't win a game. If you got your team through this year, I feel like everyone should get a free pass. But what's it like being kind of on the outside trying to get back in when this is not in any way a regular coaching search, coaching carousel? You'd show up at the Final Four at the coach's hotel and press the flesh. What's this been like?
Well, it's been very difficult. And first of all, as difficult as it is for me, I can't imagine how difficult it is for the coaches and student athletes going through all of these isolation and just all the things you go through. Everybody I talk to, every coach, whether it be on Inside the Mind of Miles, my podcast, or whether it just be calling my friends, they're all at the wit's end. They're all just like miserable, And then the worst thing is, you sit around and you're, and I was in this situation too. Like, you think that guy's going to get fired? I'll say to my wife. And that's just the worst thing you can, even say, because you don't want those guys to lose jobs. But it's like Matt Painter said to me, we're all replacements. Somebody replaces me, I replace somebody. That's the way it goes. And I guess that's one way to look at it. But it's really been interesting. I've had some opportunities. I had an NBA team talk to me about their G League team. I had a couple of colleges that I passed on. I got some that I missed out on that I tried to get in on. So it's been a little bit of everything. But boy, what a crazy time. And I was just listening to, what now, we only have like 11 or 12% of the people vaccinated in the entire U.S. And there's a lot of people that don't want to be vaccinated. So I can't wait to get this. We all want this in the rearview mirror, but I think it's going to be around longer and longer than we really want it to be, obviously.
Yeah. All right. So first of all, you mentioned Inside the Mind of Miles, which I can't imagine the
shameless plug.
Well, no, you should be shamelessly plugging it. I will shamefully plug it for you anytime. Because, like I said, you're entertaining as all hell. Not to mention a fantastic coach and analyst. Where can we find you? Where are we looking to download that and listen?
Anywhere, anything that's got a
like
podcast,
at Walmart.
I
can just walk into Walmart and be like, "Hey, do you have Tim Miles podcast in here?"
It's the highest level podcast you can imagine. I do it right in my own dining room. And I plug in a Blue Yeti microphone to my computer, which gives it a whole new dimension. And it's like digital art almost. And so when you look at all of this, really, we've had all these different coaches on, and I should look at how many different coaches we've had that are in the tournament because it's a ton, and it's been a lot of fun. We even had Mike DeCourcy.
Did we lose Tim? His Blue Yeti microphone just cut out on him. He was sitting there talking all nice. Wow. Rogers, are we still here? Are we alive? Did we end up?
Yeah, last.
Oh, there you go. Sorry, you broke. You just vanished.
Well, in Lincoln, Nebraska, it's a little bit like the Bermuda Triangle. There's times you just kind of disappear.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned you've had a bunch of coaches on. You had Mike DeCourcy, who's a frequent guest on our show. I call him the GOAT of all college basketball writers. I love him to death. But it seems like you have a pretty solid guest list going on.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm just trying to determine, how we're going to end it with the college basketball season. And the thing I was thinking today. You hear that thing they got on TV called Netflix?
I've heard of it, yes. First, maybe
okay, good.
Like the second time I've heard of it.
So it's got a little end, kind of like the old Nebraska, and that's how I got my attention. And so, but but they've got a last chance U basketball season on.
Yeah.
I was thinking about going out and seeing if we can't get some of the coaches or hoopers on that, after we have this, deal, and see if we can't get these guys plugged in the right direction.
I love it. It's fantastic. How about that? I think it's absolutely fabulous. I found out, Coach, that a guy that has been calling my show for really the last year and a half was actually a prank caller from Vancouver, Canada, who has a prank call YouTube channel. And I've unknowingly been on his prank call YouTube channel for the last year and a half. I had no idea.
So you're like a British Columbia star.
Apparently, they apparently we're beloved up there. Roger, they love Rogers. They love me. I don't know. They
think you're the straight guy up there. You're the guy that say good night, Gracie.
Yeah, I don't know. It's bizarre. All right, so speaking of bizarre, obviously we have the tournament beginning right now. Mount St. Mary's and Texas Southern just tipped off. How difficult is this for you as an analyst? Because, right, you're supposed to be, quote unquote, the expert. You're supposed to be the guy, okay, I've seen a lot of these teams. I watch basketball all the time. But when you have these teams with such a disparate amount of games that they've played, how difficult is it to try to bear down on who do you actually think is going to win?
Yeah, I think this year without the non-conference play more than ever, it's going to be fascinating. And I've got it probably because of what you just alluded to. I've got it based on chalk more than I've ever had it on chalk before. And it's funny. I just was texting with a friend of mine, and he's in Indianapolis. He's at St. Elmo's having the
shrimp cocktail, baby.
Shrimp cocktail.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And he said it's just a ghost town. It's just dead there. Crazy. And but he's got a ticket to the game. He's going to the game. So I'm really excited that we're even playing, even under these most unusual circumstances. But I think we're going to see probably more chalk than ever. I think we'll probably get, I had my big teams, obviously, like everybody, were Gonzaga is, I think, the favorite.
Mm-hmm.
They've just got every conceivable weapon at their disposal. And then, I think the Big Ten, I've been around the Big Ten, was, of course, a coach in there 7 years, grew up, a long time, and now watching it and working with it for 2 other years on broadcasting. This is the first time in my 9 years where I legitimately, I used to say, I think those guys can make the Final Four. We play Wisconsin, and I think they're a Final Four. But now you look at Michigan with Isaiah Livers in full health, and even Ohio State to a degree, and especially Illinois. Yeah. I mean, I can see all the, to me, they're almost favorites to proceed to the Final Four. Well, so, I think you've got Gonzaga, and some of those Big Ten schools, of course, and then Alabama, of course, has been, wow. How about that SEC game with LSU and Alabama?
That was unbelievable.
That SEC championship game. Yeah, that was a lot of fun to watch.
It's funny you mentioned Illinois, and I just think just a few years ago, Brad Underwood was trudging to Natchitoches, Louisiana to face the Northwestern State Demons as the head coach at SFA, and now he's a favorite to go to the Final Four. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah, and we know that Natchitoches is completely different than Nacogdoches, but at the same time, that's one of my favorite lines, by the way.
Look at you. Very well done, sir.
Well,
applause.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Dolan, South Dakota. I graduated number 7 in my high school class. There was 13 of us in the class.
Right.
So anytime I can get a pronunciation or an understanding of local knowledge like what you guys provided for me a long time ago, I'm really excited to share that, and just being that, such a student of all those things, local knowledge, it really matters.
If I might suggest, though, perhaps when you tell everyone you finished 7th in your class in high school, perhaps you mentioned to them that there were only 6 people that were actually attending the school. I think that line might work better for you. Just if you want to massage that a little bit, tweak it a little bit. Just saying.
I actually kind of got screwed over in the deal because I should have been 7 out of 14, not 7 out of 13. But one kid quit school right at the end because it was time to plant the crops up there in South Dakota, and so instead of being upper, I got it right, stuck right in the middle of it.
Gotta make it happen. Hey, you mentioned that maybe more chalk this year than we're used to, and I wonder, I was there for one of the great upsets in the tournament in 2006 when Northwestern State beat Iowa on a last-second shot, and the thing that I remember most about that was the groundswell right? As Northwestern State, who's down 17 with 8.5 minutes left, as they're chopping the lead down, it's into single digits. The crowd, everyone that's not Iowa, is starting to get behind the underdog with capacities at 25%. Tim, do you think that maybe makes a difference where some of these 13, 14 seeds may not have that same emotional lift from a crowd that is automatically going to be pulling for the underdog?
No doubt. I think you're right on it. I think that, it's unprecedented times, and that is going to hurt those upstarts and those Cinderella stories. I still think there's some out there. I do, just because I think there's some strong. Well, just look at Kentucky's down, Duke's down. Look at Michigan State in the first four in a playing game, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
You just look at the dispersion of talent is different also, and so I think when you look at all that, you're exactly right. And the other part is just that emotion of what you just described. You can remember that like it's yesterday. You probably got the energy. As you start talking about that, you can remember the energy in the whole place, and it's just too bad we won't have that.
Yeah, it is. It is disappointing. Ultimately, who do you like? Who do you think comes out of this thing? Are the Zags just too tough?
I'm going to take Illinois. Since we're talking about our man Brad, let's take Illinois right here.
Okay. Hey, look, I mean, it's not like it's a bad pick or anything. I'm actually taking Gonzaga because we went on the road and played them twice in back-to-back nights, which is Well, if you don't think that's a Mike McConaughey thing, then there's never been one. Basically, he's got Gonzaga and Washington State on 2 of 3 nights. He's got an open night in between. And Mark Few says, "Hey, we're going to get better playing, not practicing. Do you want to go again? Let's run it back on the second night, and we'll send you an extra bit in your check." And Mike goes, "Well, why not? Let's do it." So sure enough, we played number 1 Gonzaga on back-to-back nights, and then Washington State the following night.
That?
Oh, it's just
how great is that? I can see Coach doing that too, man. I don't think he's going to back down very often. And what the heck? We're not going to get better by practicing. Mark's right.
Yeah,
he's right, man.
Oh,
hey, did you read the? By the way, did you read the? Where they did the players or the coaches as players ranked 1 through 68?
Yes.
That was a good bit. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Well, you know who was dead last on that list?
Who was dead last? I don't even remember.
It was Will Wade, LSU's head coach, because he never played basketball.
Right.
He never played basketball. Yeah, he was a golfer. Didn't play high school basketball. Didn't play college. Kind of got in as sort of a manager type. Kind of like we saw with some of these football coaches that get in as Bill Belichick's video guy. They end up being head coaches. Well, Will Wade never played, so he was dead last on the list. Who would you take? Who would you take number 1? Juwan Howard? Is he Patrick Ewing?
No, Patrick Ewing.
Okay.
Yeah, clearly. But Craig Smith was 65. Craig was my assistant over 11 years at 4 different schools, and they had him that he just played or didn't play in college, and so Craig, when I had him, and he's at, we had a kid named Jason Retzloff who was a Division II All-American, and Retzloff could make half quarters, and Craig would throw it in, and Craig would always tell Jason Retzloff about the time he had 46 in an intramural game.
Yes.
And he'd go on and on and on. So immediately when that came out, I put a group text together and said, apparently Craig didn't get a comment on this because we didn't hear about the 46-point game.
Well, surely it would have bumped him up from 65 to 64 if they would have known.
And quickly, Craig said it was 51.
Oh, it's getting better.
Oh, yeah. So then he claimed, it's inflated over time now, and so it was hilarious about the fact he's remembering an intramural game and knew how many points he scored.
Wow.
In the intramural game.
Yeah,
you gotta love him.
Yeah, not like you're keeping score in your book in intramurals. No, so it's not stuff that happens very often. All right, so kind of just last thing about the tournament. Obviously, we're all happy to have it back. Is there a particular upset that you look at and say, I feel like this is maybe the one to pick? Since I know you kind of feel like it's going to be a lot of chalk. Is there maybe a 10, 11, 12, 13 seed out there that you look at and go, hey, this might be the one to look out for?
Yeah, the games I went to originally were the 5-12 games, like everybody does.
Sure.
Of course, they're kind of geared that way. And, just because of our locale here, I picked Santa Barbara over Creighton. But most importantly, I picked Georgetown over Colorado.
There you go.
And I really do think those two games could happen that way. And there was one other I was going to tell you about, and I think it might have been actually locally tied, which was if Isaiah Livers didn't come through the thing, it's going to be St. Bonaventure all the way to the Sweet 16.
Wow.
Beating LSU and Michigan.
Wow. So you like the Bonnies? You like the Bonnies over LSU, huh?
You know, I've watched them play 3 times. Just on random things. I've always been really impressed. And they've got prior experience, prior winning in the NCAA. I think those guys that have been there, and there's kind of that expectation really matters too. That's a team that I think is a high seed that could make the deepest run.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Tim, you're absolutely the best. Oh, what? Yes?
I just want you to know, on Inside the Mind of Miles, one of our guys did a read, John Santa, that I was on with, and they talked about a 1-800 gambling problem. And I said, I don't have a 1-800 gambling problem. I have a 1-800 I can't pick the games right problem. So I hope nobody listens to me in a way that's going to cost them any money.
Yeah, Rogers gave you a rim shot for that one, Tim. He was ready to roll.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rogers is always ready with the rim shot if you need it.
That's just gold.
That's why he's the best. Also, yeah. I don't think that's a real phone number. It feels like it's too many numbers. Just say.
It's international.
Yes. Hey, look, you're the best, brother. Much appreciated with your time. Obviously, enjoy the games. It's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. And look, we look forward to. I know you'll be back in the profession here before too long, and we'll obviously love catching up with you wherever you end up.
Thanks, Patrick. See you guys.
All right, Tim Miles, Fox Sports, Big Ten Network, former Nebraska coach, ready to get back in.